Good morning. Appreciate you all being here. Electric Culture Safety Line Team. We've got an awesome speaker, Mr. Gilbert Laureano. Appreciate Fairway Electric Incorporated for sending him out here for his second visit. He was here 2.5 years ago. I couldn't believe it. 2.5 years ago. Fairway Electric had about 25 employees. Now they have about 250 employees. So they've grown about 10 times. No, that's more than 10 times. It's a lot of times, about 10 times. So anyways, appreciate you all being here. It's a beautiful day here in South Carolina. I believe you might call yesterday the first day of spring here because we hit 70 and it looks beautiful from here on out. So appreciate everybody being here. And electriccultureofsafety.com, go there. We've got the live wire. We got some full recordings. And we're bringing more and more recordings from these Lineman Safety National webinars. And 3 years now, over 14,000 partners have joined up. And so it's just amazing what we're seeing, how Gilbert and I were talking about how the young folks are coming in, and this is a great opportunity to connect and combine our consciousness together, because we're a lot smarter when we work together. And that's what Electric Culture Safety is all about. And especially these days, take advantage of it. Share with your line crews, come on board, and share with your connections out in the field. So Mr. Gilbert, he was here. He spoke on a legacy of unsafe acts and how to break the cycle. That was episode 011, 2.5 years ago, November of 2022. So now he's going to be talking about data-driven safety. This is going to be episode 065. Wow. So Gilbert, glad you're here, brother.
Thank you for the invite. Glad to be here. It's incredible what you guys have done. The growth is happening, and this is the right place to be when it comes to, gaining information and providing information. And I'm looking forward to the live wire on ECOS, and keep bringing me. I'll be here anytime you need it. It's great.
That's great. Yeah. So Mr. Gilbert, he's originally from Puerto Rico.
That's right.
And so he's got a nice, cool accent that I wish I could imitate, but I can't. But yeah, so Gilbert, tell us a little bit about how you got into this line of work, man.
So I've been doing safety since 2004. Safety was something that it was my passion, but I did construction engineering before that, and then took a leap to environmental health and safety about 2004, and then entered the energy market in 2006 with DT Advanced Technology, phenomenal things. And then a few years later, entered the market of the overhead electrical work, and has been doing that for over 15 years, all in safety. And it's the place to be when it comes to the risk associated, the technical knowledge that our folks need to keep each other safe, and it's really fun. I truly enjoy. I don't see myself doing anything else but what I'm doing and what I have been doing for 20 years. For me, it's not work. Even coming here is enjoyable. Is the same type of people. We can relate. We can talk about the topics affecting our folks, and looking for ways to improve the safety in our industry. So yeah.
So, and Gilbert's a great guy to listen to, and he is bringing passion for sure. He didn't get into the hotel till about 3:30 this morning, and here he is here. It looks like he's had a great beauty rest. All right, he's all beautiful and everything.
I slept an hour, so I'm good.
He slept an hour. So tell us about Fairway Electric Incorporated. Tell us about the company and what's new, because you guys have gone so much further than 2.5 years ago. Tell us a little bit.
Yes. So I joined Fairway Electric almost 4 years ago with a small group of folks. Our CEO, Shane Kerrigan, is a retired Army man, and decided got into line work after he retired from the service, and he was not extremely happy about things we're looking at, and he's really safety conscious, and with that military background, he knew that he could make a difference. And he proved it. 4 years after, we have truly captured the essence, not only on the work and the quality of work we have been doing, but most importantly, safety. And I have nothing but respect for what he has allowed us to do and what he asked us to do. He is really demanding when it comes. Is no budget. It's just let's just get it done. Right now, we train every single one of our guys before we allow them in the system. And in the industry, that is not as simple to do with union members. They come trained, but we trust what we do for them and no one else. So I think Fairway Electric is doing great. I'm really proud of our folks and our guys, and we have the same folks as we hire them. They stay with us, they grow with us, and that helps us tremendously. So I can't wait. We have about 250 employees right now with 4 different companies from one, and the rest hopefully continue to be the same as now. So I'm really proud of them.
Yeah, it's nice to hear, and it's nice to see when a company invests in their people. That is the greatest investment any company can have, and it's so encouraging to hear about this and to see that where they invest and they value their employees. So be excited. Here we go, Mr. Gilbert. You ready?
Thank you. Thank you.
Come on, brother.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So again, thank you for being here at ECOS and Brett to have me here today. Really excited to talk. Last time we talked, as we mentioned, about the legacy of UNSAFE ACTS and how getting used to do things wrong or fast without any pre-planning over time can lead to a level of complacency that can get you in trouble. And then today we're going to focus on data-driven safety. I'm going to try to mix match some of the previous talks with this topic. We talk about our history for Fairway, and just like ECOS, we have grown significantly. Our quick recap on the legacy of UNSAFE ACTS. We talked last time about the history overall of safety, how safety became this thing that we know now. And we learned that safety has been a part of different civilizations over thousands of years, okay? And it's how we use those lessons learned that's going to shape who we are, not only as an industry, but also as a civilization. It's proving. And I think that was a fun discussion last time. We talked last time about understanding the risk and the shift that you need to take to break the cycle of unsafe acts and unsafe conditions. The 4 pillars of safety management system, which we're gonna again touch on that as well, because it's key to the data driven safety. And today again, we're gonna use some of those back topics to discuss more on the technical side. Before it was more on the systems but not much on the safety management system, but what it needed for all of us to be safer. Today we're gonna go a bit more technical. So how we deal with hazard, the influence of emotional process and the risk versus reward, that was part of the last topic as well. It's gonna be important today. Perception is not reality. Okay, so data is important because it takes that subjective mindset out of the equation. So we're going to talk about how fact will shape your safety management system based on data, and how important it is for us to understand the information and be brutally honest with each other when we see this data that is telling us something that we thought was different, and how we're going to face that information without any type of, it's black and white. You know, what you see is what you get, and you have to react to that. So again, perception is not reality. We have to, we're going to talk about brutal facts. It's something I learned in a book I read a few months ago called Good to Great, highly recommended, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. Okay? what is data-driven safety? If you Google data-driven safety, you're gonna see that it's associated with many different markets, industries, and in reality, it's mostly used in the transit and traffic control industry. So we don't want to confuse the way they do their data mining and how they address data from that perspective. Here, we have to simplify it. We talk about gathering data, how much of the data should we gather, and how to read that data and how to present that data. What are we going to do with that information? So it's not as technical maybe as some agencies and the government might use the data from traffic and the roadway highways. This is for safety professionals to really focus on what's important for them to prevent the next event. So if you look at data from 5 years, we talk about Fairway, and being a data-driven safety professional, I always going to, as a new company, when we started 4 years ago, look at the small amount of data and try to increase that. So over time, we have more information to allow us to improve. And we're going to talk about how that is a proving concept. It's not something I like to do as a safety professional. It's something that we all have to do as an organization. And I can tell you that the only way I can succeed is by getting everyone in the same page, not the safety guys, not just Shane, my CEO, but everyone around it have to get that buy-in, all right? The idea is to enhance safety performance and support decision making. And decision making includes anything from, okay, we have 25 line workers working in this market, and we have 50 working in Texas, for say. How many safety guys I need in each market? Well, all right, I have 50 in Texas, I have 25 in South Carolina, so that should be the ratio. Well, in reality, you have to look at the data of what is happening in Texas and what's happening in South Carolina before you make a determination of how you're going to allocate your resources. And that's not only on safety, but also on your project management and the oversight, how many GFs, because that's how you're going to prevent the next incident. An example of that, the data suggests that the guys in South Carolina, even though it's 25 of them, have been doing a great job in every aspect. The supervisors with proven data has shown to be really bought in safety and keeping the guys safe. So maybe I can move my resources from South Carolina to Texas, where the data suggests that I have more incidents and more issues. Okay, know your numbers. That's something I always said. I learned from my mentors in the past. You cannot operate blind. It's just a waste of time and way too risky for you to do so. Key safety data, incident reports versus safety audits. So obviously we're going to focus on leading indicators. Lagging indicators are going to provide more information. It's not subjective. Something happened, all right? But also, if we make it subjective because we are not looking at the right data, we're going to make the wrong decisions. So, all right, so we talk about brutal fact. This is from a book by Jim Collins, Good to Great. Confront the brutal trust head on, all right? You see the data, don't say, well, I mean, I know he's saying this, but I thought that really the situation doesn't, if the data is there, trust it and face it. You might be operating for 6 months in one market and not realize that you have an issue. And then you don't look at the data. When you look at it, the situation is different. Hey, you made a mistake by not paying attention to that data and getting complacent. Now you have the information, and it happened to all of us. The resources that is needed from the organization to gather the right amount of data is tremendous. and it can go to the sideways really quick. This book, Good to Great, is not about safety, it's about business. But to be honest, when it comes to information gathering and all that you need to make decisions, this is a great way for you to get your head around how some companies that we don't see. He talks about Blockbuster and maybe Kmart and some of those companies that were really good in the past and got complacent, not reading the data properly, and went down in a second because those folks who were collecting the proper data and looking at the future took advantage of their complacency. So, how effective is your data? I've been doing this for 20 years and I can promise you that it can always be better. All right? Why? Because it's a lot of information out there and it takes time and effort to find it. All right? And if it's only 2-3 people looking for that information, then you just lost. You have to get everyone in the same page. So the quality of the data is key. All right? A simple example is going to the field to do safety audits. Well, how good is that information? I learned that as a professional that wants all the information, I can sometimes be excessive on the amount of information that I request from my safety guys when they do safety audits. I want it all. Well, if we want buy-in from the folks in the field, then we have to simplify this a bit. And I fought this all through my career. But in reality, sometimes less is more, because if you have a safety audit like I tend to have with 120 different questions, because I want those data points, what's going to happen is they just going to pencil whip. They just going to read through it, whatever they think. They're not going to read 120 questions. So how can we get more with less? Asking less questions that can provide more information. But if you only have safety professional providing that information to you, you're losing. You want everyone from the supervisor to the CEO to the general foreman to the apprentice getting access to the same questions, the same information, and providing that feedback. All right? You have to use that information properly. Many organizations struggle with the effectiveness of using the data because I can tell you not too long ago, maybe 6-7 years ago, maybe less than that, I still have folks in the field doing job briefings with paper, doing safety audits on a clipboard, doing quality inspection with clipboard. So what happened is that now you have to wait for someone to gather that information, bring it to you, and then you have to analyze it and get it into a matrix system so you can quantify it. I don't think anyone here is doing that anymore. And if you are one of those, you need to stop. You're wasting time and effort. By the time you quantify that data, the next event is already happening. So then ethical use of that data. If I gather that information effectively, and I read that my biggest concern are in South Carolina with my 25 crews, and then don't provide some type of coaching moment to the crew and the folks, providing that data in a way that is respectful and allowed for fostering a culture of communication, then I lost already. Now the next set of data I'm gonna gather from them is not gonna be as effective. And you have to make sure that everyone understands the end goal, which is making sure that we have 0 incidents. And I know that sounds far-fetched for some folks. I truly believe in that. It's really hard to accomplish, but 0 event is possible if we work together, get the right information, and act on it. We talk about immediate access of data. We talk about paperwork. It's just not going to work. So the only way you can truly prevent the next incident is to have the information right now. I was on my phone a few minutes ago. I can see from my phone every single audit that comes out of my team. Not only my team, but everyone doing safety audits. I can see every job briefing right now from my phone. I don't have to open my laptop, that is being done in the field right now. And I can provide feedback from right here on a foreman that I saw that maybe missed a few steps on documenting them. It doesn't mean that he didn't talk to the guys about, but I don't know. So we need to document it. We give you a tool to provide that information, use it effectively for the good of your crew, for the good of the next crew as well. So access to data is critical, all right? And nowadays with the technology that we have, it's no reason why any of us should be using paperwork to communicate our concerns or just gather data, all right? This is just a quick example of what I suggest we use, all right? On my incident boson lagging and leading indicator matrix, we have approximately 100 data points that we want to collect on any given incident report, all right? And this is just a quick idea of some of those that I use. I cannot create an incident matrix or a data center for any organization other than the one I'm working with. Why? Because it's specific to our needs. And if you, sometimes we have different software that we use to manage the safety management system, okay? And some people like to use AI, which we as well, but it's as good as the baseline you provide to the organization, what AI is gonna give you, or whatever safety culture sometimes I use in the past, of any of the other applications that we use for information. So you have to do the back work on your own and then use the technology provided to help you access that information. So, and then visualization of data is important. You should be able to click a button and see what is happening on a dashboard. What you have here is a quick snapshot of some of my data from last year. And because I know the information, I can go and look at it quickly and tell you what is going on in each quarter, okay, month by month, and areas of concerns by area of concern. It has to be quick. Not that you will understand it by looking at it, but me and my team should be able to understand it quickly, okay? And that is only on the Excel part of it. Then when an incident report happened, I will obviously get notified by a phone call, but I also will have it on my phone in case I'm doing this talk right now. So I cannot look at my phone, but as soon as I get out of here, I can look at my phone and see what is going on across the organization with right now 7 different markets. Visualization of data is critical, okay? When we talk about subtypes, all right, some safety professionals in the safety management system like to manage incidents from injuries on one matrix, and then motor vehicle incidents in another one, and then property damage in a different. That's too much work. I want my data to be all in one, but I want to be able to click a button and say, okay, I don't want to see the motor vehicle incidents. They're here. I just don't want to see them now. I'm going to focus on injuries. All right. So now I want to see, okay, how many injuries are related to lacerations to the left hand, the right hand, the head, all right? That laceration was with a knife, a sharp object, what specific? So those subtype are important up front. One of the challenges you're going to see as an organization is having your team populating those 100 data points. So I tell my guys, listen, we are dealing with an incident right now. Let's focus on the main information we need to navigate this. And but before we move to the root cause analysis portion of this incident, we need to populate every single one of those 80 to 100 data points. It have to be clean, because if we don't do it now, next week it's not gonna get done. So I understand that it's not as easy as having safety professionals running around and investigating incidents, but the information that comes back is critical. And you, not only the safety director or the safety manager for the region, but everyone needs to be on top of that. Everyone should understand that information, okay, and question it, all right? So why do I want to know if my new apprentice have been driving for 2 years, all right? What am I going to use that data for, all right? Or am I going to use it? So that is one of the questions during new hire onboarding. Well, I'm going to place that employee who has been driving for less on a truck, a CDL license, for less than 2 years in a specific training section. In the past, we found that that's one of our challenges. We made that criteria 1 year, all right? That wasn't enough. The data show that when you place those guys driving a CDL with a CDL license for less than a year, they're gonna get into incidents. That's a brutal fact. We had the assumption that, okay, so our criteria should be if they're driving for more than a year, they're gonna be fine. A data show that it's not enough. When we increase that to 2 years, we eliminate 100% of the motor vehicle incidents related to apprentices and new drivers, okay? And actually using the same concept, we eliminate 90% of all the motor vehicle incidents we were having a few years ago. And that is brutal data. That's not, it's shocking to see how much you can do with that amount of data. Why do I need to know if we all IBW? Why do I need to know from what local specifically that employee came? Well, I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to incidents, you want it, yeah. If you see an increase on incidents related to one specific local, then you can act on it. You can go to the local rep and say, hey, can we help each other? What do you need from us to make your training better? I don't know, because I just noticed that 60% of all my motor vehicle incidents are coming from this market. The client is important too. We can see that some clients are more demanding than others. Some are demanding on the safety side. Others are demanding on the operation side. So that data will help us as well. And on and on and on. All right. So it's key. This is the beginning of all. All right. Before you add any AI, any new systems, make sure that you know what you're looking for. All right. So the importance of good data is going to enhance decision making, reduce incidents, and definitely increase profit. Okay. Again, just an example, how many supervisors I need on one market based on the information at hand. It's as simple as that. All right. All right, let's talk about more technical. Now we have our base. We have all the information that we need, and we're going to make a commitment that is going to be at the level that we need it. Now, and last time we were here, we talked about the 4 pillars of safety management system as your base, obviously. Then we talk about the 4 pillars of the legacy of safety, what you want to leave behind. Now we're going to more technical when it comes to what is descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and predictive and prescriptive analytics. Okay, so what they mean. All right, when you are looking at the data, you have everything set up. Now, how are you going to address that data? The simplest type of analytic and the foundation of other type of build on, it allows you to pull trends from raw data and describe what happened or is currently happening. All right, so this is the data that tells you what's going on, not what you're going to do with it, but what is happening. It's more common on lagging indicators where you have an incident. All right, so more traditional using incident reports as a baseline of what we're going to look for. All right, so So on descriptor, we look for frequency of incidents, SIFT, how significant or serious those incidents are. Circumstances, example, leading of an incident can reveal critical points where intervention could prevent accidents. So what can we do to prevent the next one? All right, it already happened. And then the contributing factors that we tend to find during the root cause analysis. So this is the script, this is what happened. It's not much we can change, it's already there. When it comes to diagnostic, all right, so in this analytic, it will help us identify the root cause of safety incidents in the workplace through the root cause analysis, correlation, which is this involves looking for relationship between different variables. For example, analyzing the correlation between shift timing and accident rate, and it will show the incidents are more frequent during night shift. Simple as that, if that's the case. And in our industry, the guys don't work from 8 to 5. We have shifts that work from 6 to 3 or 6 to 5, and then we have the next shift coming up to do trouble work, and they work all night. So where are those incidents happening more often? Okay, so hypothesis of testing. Organization can test hypotheses about safety issues, and we do that often. So our data show that some folks with new CDL license were having more incidents, so we tested for whoever was coming in who was a year on a CDL. That didn't work. We increased it to 2 years. That is working. So that's how you test your hypotheses. Okay. Let's see. So predictive. All right. That's why we move our lagging indicators with some leading indicators tools to make sure that, all right, we have this issue now. Let's focus on getting in front of it so we don't have them anymore. All right. So equipment failure. So are we having a lot of those when it comes to our maintenance? Why are we not fixing those? That's going to lead to what? Low time of operation, but also a chance of incidents with equipment not working properly. All right. So identify high risk areas. Predictive models can analyze the data from various sources. In one of these slides, I have FMEI, failure mode systems that I had to deal with back on the R&D side. And those were extremely fun, and I think it built my confidence on the systems I built now from the safety management system and the data driven. But I think for you guys in Briar might have the same concept of engineering constructability when you do a failure mode system analysis to make sure that your equipment is working properly. So we take that to the same here. So predictive, forecast work fatigue by examining patterns in work hours, breaks, and productivity. I mentioned that storm work, 16 hours, 10, 20 days, nonstop. Well, right now, you can predict that something is going to happen, so you have to act in front of them. Environmental conditions, So the weather here is not the same weather we have in New Hampshire. We have still in my house like a foot of snow in my driveway. So are the conditions going to be different than they're here when we're driving? Absolutely. So you have to be able to predict that based on a different forecast potential hazards such as slippery floors during rain season, snow season, mud season as we're dealing with now. So don't wait until something happens. Do something about it. All right? Prescriptive. Now we're talking about what we are going to do with that data that we gather from leading or lagging indicators. All right. So what we find typically, do we do more training? That's a fact. For us, it was. We try to operate like any other company, understanding that the importance of keeping every project on budget. All right. So the expectation that you bring new hires to the organization in our industry and retrain them is unheard of. I'll be honest, some companies do it and it's great. The cost is tremendous, and it's not easy for a small company to make that commitment because they bring their line workers already trained. Step 7 apprentice to a full-on, line worker. They have been trained for years to get to this position. And now we have to train them again, even though it's for a day or 2 days, we do. Our data point us into that direction, saving money by not training these guys. We don't have to, they come train. So we do the new hire onboarding and we send them to their job. That should be enough, but it wasn't. It's not enough. So I give you an example of what we do, and I'm really proud of the guys for thinking of that and getting it done. We have some concerns around insulate and isolate, all right? We were having outages, no incidents, no injuries, but you can imagine how serious this concern is. We decided to build a low line similar to what you guys have here in every single one of our yards. So right now, if we have any concern during the morning about how we're gonna do the job after we leave the yard, we can go to that low line and practice on it for 10, 20 minutes and see, okay, this is how we're gonna cover this is the situation we're gonna be facing at the job site, and this is what we're gonna use. Make sure that we have all the tools. Let's practice here and go. I never seen that before. It's pretty cool. But we use the same low lines to retrain our guys or train our guys when they show up for the first time. Why? Some of these line workers have been working for 15 years, all right? So why are we gonna refresh them on how to cover up? Well, because we don't know where they have been working for 15 years. And to be honest, our expectations might not be the same expectations of the company they came from. And maybe their training when they taught us line workers was 20 years ago, and they need a refresher. Maybe as simple as this guy's gonna be a foreman and have not been aloft in the air working for a long time. So we wanna make sure that he understands the expectation we have so he can provide that to his team, all right? So we talk about resource allocation often. It's one of the most basic prescriptive data that we can use. Unfortunately, again, some jobs, when you break into a new market, you might not have the capacity to bring 2 safety guys to that project. But you might have to. You might have to bring more supervision because you have 2 crews in that market, but they are pretty spread out. And you cannot take the chance by saying, I don't know, the money's not there. Well, maybe take it from a project that is more seasoned and doing better and move your resources. You have to be creative. It's not, we cannot put a safety professional on every crew, I understand, or a GF on every crew, but you can move things around based on what the data is telling you, okay? All right, this is one of the slides I used last time I was here, and I find it interesting because data is so important that even Leonardo da Vinci never tried his idea of the parachute. He knew that he didn't have enough data to jump out of a cliff with his idea. He had some idea and a good concept. It was not enough data for him to take the risk. However, hundreds of years later, in 1912, we have Franz Richet that decided, well, I think I have enough data. That's sufficient. I'm just going to try it. And he did. He jumped from the Eiffel Tower to his death, obviously, because by looking at it, that wasn't going to work. We know that now because we have facts and data. He didn't. So, I mean, not that I'm laughing at him, but that's how we going to look at when we look at data. Just make sure that you have all the information before you risk your life. Okay? So, fun fact. Talked earlier, no more paper. I think It's funny how in the past, doing this for so long, every foreman, every GF, every safety professional will have a printer on his truck. It was needed because you have every work order, every document you need, EWPs and job briefing. You need to have that with you. And the foreman dashboard looked like an office, a file cabinet. It was paper all over the place. How can you keep organized if you have so much paperwork? No more. It was the first day I joined Fairway Electric, and I don't know, we have, let's say 10 employees at that time. And I noticed that every crew, every truck that were working on the maintenance job was provided a tablet, okay? And back then, 4 years ago, we might not have the technology we have today, but it was mandatory that everything we do was electronic. We were getting ready. Our CEO made it mandatory. We don't want to lose paperwork. We want to use the cloud. We want to use the technology we have. I want to be able to see how you guys are moving on the job from safety and operation from anywhere I am. And today we take that to the next level, but you won't find paperwork. Don't do it. All right. We talk about mobile applications. We should have them. Have to be in the cloud. I should be seeing the same information my guys are seeing in the field by the touch of a button. Not only the application related to safety management system, but the crew composition of every different job. I should be able to see it. I can tell you that I can see today what my crews have finished in the last 2 hours with pictures and a full report because of the technology we have implemented in order to make sure they can have continuity on the job. It's not that our foremans are doing a 20-minute report. All they have to do is take a picture of the job before and after completion, put some notes, and move on to the next job. Now I can see from the safety perspective how the job is going to be done, performed, and from the quality perspective, our team can see if that is a good job. All right. Integrating technology. So it is important that you don't lose track on the data that you gather from safety has to come from every department and have to talk to each other. So my application related to safety audits and job briefing have to talk to the operations side of how much production we have. They have to talk to each other so we can visualize data. I give you an example. We had we have a lot of crews doing like street light work, all right? And we incorporated some new technology to allow them to be more efficient. But then I look at the data and I realize that they are being way too efficient, Like this is an 80%, 60% increase on production that looking at the data, I got tremendously concerned. I said, this is not looking good. I think we're pushing our guys too hard. So I went and investigate what was going on. I mean, are we pushing our guys too hard? Is this safe? And I find out that by giving them the tools they need, the information they needed ahead of time, when they do the job briefing that I see every day, and they look at the production schedule, they can go to the job with that pre-planning setup on safety and production and be 60% more efficient and 80% safer. It's incredible, all right? So integration of technology is important, from finance to operations to safety, all talking to each other, okay? Automated reporting, that's important as well. So I don't want to wait, and this is interesting because sometimes I was having someone question why I didn't report this safety audit or that safety audit. And the answer is, I don't, because it goes to all of us, so it's on our phone. But some new managers don't know that I'm not sending them the safety audit because it goes automatically to their phone. And we score the safety audits by percentage. So any safety audit that has less than 90 will pop on my phone immediately as an alert. Okay, so I can see it and said, okay, well, this is a concern we have to deal with together. So I saw a safety audit coming down to was 68%. So that really said, okay, that's a concern. I have to act on it now. And we did. And now the crew knows that it's not going to take 2 weeks for them to find out, for the company to find out that you are not operating in compliance. So that is good. All right. Proactive. Well, no, this is the best tools. Yep. So again, we talk about the safety management system, but it relates tremendously. Policy, risk management, assurance, and promotion. Okay. So again, using the technology, we can make sure that all these policies and risk management tools we put in place are working correctly. All right. And I can promise you one thing, we have a long way to go. But I have a lot of friends in the industry, and I know that we are ahead to some organizations. And when it comes to safety, we don't want to compete. We want anyone who has any issues with understanding how we're going to get this to work into our safety management system, any organization, to let me know personally, send me an email, a phone call, and pick my brain. I mean, what I do might not be the same as what you want to do, but we have to do it. We own it. We share our resources. A line worker today that is working for you is going to work for me tomorrow. And it's no need of us competing into the technology we're using to keep them safe. At the end of the day, ethically and morally, the right thing to do is to help each other. So, and that's when the safety promotion comes part. Some of the best tool measuring team performance. Gantt charts we use, periodic performance evaluation. This is some of the examples on how some of the tools in this tool right here, okay, I can, as soon as a new document is created, a form is filled, it doesn't matter if it's a safety audit or a job briefing or a good catch, anything will populate immediately there. So I don't have to wait for them to finish typing. I can see it live, or I wait until they finish and it comes right on to my phone. All right, and that's managing 250 employees. However, it's only send me something when I need to pay attention to automated. So, all right, another, some of the tools in the market, they not necessarily what I use, but I have used Safety Culture in the past. They're doing a phenomenal job, a great company. It didn't work for me because I wanted more. I wanted more data. And they are, you know, they just provide, they're a great company. And some other ones that you can use, but you can Google hundreds of them if you need any help with that. Now let's talk about driving scorecards, all right? We've been talking about driving scorecard for, I don't know, forever. You know, I am a member of some of the association related to traffic control and protection. And driving scorecard has been the toughest thing to implement for a safety professional. And with the buy-in of the organization, I feel like, at least from my experience, we have at Fairway the best driving score system I have ever seen before. But it takes a village. It cannot be the safety guy just tracking people's driving behavior. So right now, I can tell you that it can be every day, but the same as anything else that is at the moment, I can see it on my phone. I can see the driving behavior of every one of our employees right now, in the last 10 minutes, in the last 20 minutes, in the last 2 hours. And I can call him out and say, hey, what's going on? I have some alerts here of your driving. What's going on? You get the same alerts I get. So why are you not doing something about it? However, every week we give every individual, every crew, and every division so a report on their driving behavior. So you might be the GF and you might drive being great. Well, what about your foremans? And what about, I mean, I can divide it all into different sections and say, hey, you have to do something with your team. I mean, the overall driving for all of you guys is poor. So it works because now the foreman who is driving correctly is being penalized, not penalized, but called to the carpet because his crew is not driving effectively. And he has the same tools we have. So we all in this together. And sometimes have nothing to do with the guys, because I tell you what I noticed. The guys have no rush to get to the anywhere because they're getting paid by hours. So they tend to drive the trucks effectively. But what about the foremen and the safety guys who are moving from side to side? I mean, so you call them out. You say, hey, listen, we have to set the example. Right now, the data suggests you have the worst driving record. That is much better than me calling a division manager and say, hey, the data suggests you have the most motor vehicle accidents. All right. This driving scorecard, if you don't take anything else I'm saying, take that one. Make it happen as soon as possible, because it's going to save lives and it's going to save a lot of money on fender benders. All right. So, all right, good caches. That is the most important data you need on your incident matrix or incident prevention program for them. All right. Just like I mentioned on the driving score, and I can tell you that it's the toughest leading indicator to capture in the field. All right. Takes a village. All right. At Fairway, over the last few years, our operation team has found a way to make this their priority. All right. And I give them credit for that, because they're the ones looking at the guys and say, hey, listen, you missed it. That's a good catch that we can report. It can help the next crew, you know? So what we find out, we have, is data there, but we have about, in the last few months, I didn't put a note in it, but about 200 good catches report. And because we look at them daily, we can call out, because sometimes, I remember a few years ago doing it by hand and put them in a mailbox so we can look at them, and it's nice, but not effective. If the good cache is that good, you should look at it right now, you know, and you should share with everyone else. So it is the hardest to measure because it doesn't have that many data points. It's so broad. But what we find out by extracting some data is that the biggest issue we face is the poor conditions of some of the areas we go to work. And we were not expecting that. We were expecting something more like in the equipment and the tooling, but really is what we find out historically with the data is that it's hard to capture the deficiencies in the system from an inspection on the ground. So more is needed before we allow the guys to go over. And how we solve that? We have a great quality department with drone systems that they can go ahead and look at the system better before we expose our guys to the system. And that helps the client and help our crews and help safety. And it helps with the progression of the job as well. So focus on good caches. They're going to make a difference. Okay. Identify overall conditions of the system. As I mentioned, that's and the QC department has done a phenomenal job keeping our guys safe. Again, takes a village. All right, leading indicators in driving. This is just an example of last week. As you can see, this is by individual. So every day I can see who is the worst driver and who is the best driver. We already make those phone calls. And then overall, I can go, we have guys who have been with us for 2 years. I can see, okay, how is your driving in the last 2 years? And we can recognize you, and we have some phenomenal drivers. And I tell you what, these guys are competitive. They wanna be the best, and they're gonna change their driving behavior. And the driving behavior has shown how much we can reduce on motor vehicle incidents and injuries related to that, okay? And what happens if I see these folks at the same poor level of driving next week? Driving is a privilege. You know, you cannot drive, you cannot do your job. We can suspend your privilege for driving. All right. And important that I mentioned that we measure our guys' driving behavior not only at work, but for those who have CDL license, we have to measure and see how they driving outside of work. Okay, so if they got a DUI or they got a ticket, there's a company called Samba Safety that we use that will immediately flag them and send that information to us so we can talk to them. So we just following the law, obviously. We are not trying to invade your privacy, but this is what you sign for when you got a CDL license. So that improved their driving at home as well, because some of us, it's tough, but yeah, we want the best for you and the family and those who are, sharing the roads. All right. Proven results. All right. In the last 6 months, we have reduced tremendously. I think if I go and look at my data, it'd be about maybe 60% of the overall incidents, not just driving and injuries. So we can get to zero. It is possible. If you can get it to 80% and 90%, why not zero? It's possible. Okay, but we have to keep working on it. And the data, I was able to do what we were able to do what we did at Fairway by using the data properly. And I have a great team of guys. I cannot tell you. I asked them what I want, and they created this great Excel, sheet that do I need it? No, I can get the data from the apps, but I want a backup. I want to read it in any way I want, and I want that data from the app to be able to send it to export Excel and be able to see my data, visualize it the way I like it, and using that data has been tremendous this year. We're doing great. All right, root cause analysis, failure mode, and effect analysis. We talk about that. Process and workflow documentation, maintenance record, environmental condition, not just weather. Root cause analysis are important, and that is after the fact data. But one of the things I like to do, and it's in my matrix, when it comes to shift events, all right, we have a near miss that could have resulted in a significant incident or even a fatality, but it was a near miss. We're going to move forward with a root cause analysis. Okay, we have to, because we have to find how to prevent that from happening again. Okay, so it's not easy. It takes time, a lot of effort. All right. The same with other aspects of leading indicators. Influence of change. Okay, you must show result fast. So if I have all this data, all right, which takes a lot of work to gather, now what you do with it? I can tell you that it's easier said than done. Providing a report that is going to influence our executive team, our managers, our directors to act fast takes a lot of work. You have to present it in a way that they can relate and they can get excited. I cannot go to our operation folks and say, hey, you're having a lot of incidents. All right, you have to show the why and the how we're going to prevent them and get them to be part of the solution, or it's not going to work. All right, this is not the safety department gathering this data and doing this work. Has to come from them. And I get called out sometimes, said, oh, how come you didn't tell me that we were having this rate of observations at this level? I said, okay, I'm sorry, because let's be honest, a safety professional, is my job to see that data, even though everyone in the organization have access to it, which is important too. And I can call them out and say, well, it's there, the information is right at your phone. Well, the reality is our job to communicate and build that relationship and influence that change. Okay, so Paul Neal is a great book. Building up Positive Safety Legacy. This is a great book in the sense that allow you to really communicate what you want to see from the organization at all levels. This is a funny one. Breaking the cycle. The measure of intelligence is the ability to change. All right. So again, we talk about brutal facts. Some people might be set on their ways, and we see that often. Sometimes we hire a new superintendent from a great company, and he comes in and he doesn't understand what we're doing. It's like we have to retrain them. It's like, this is why we do this. But that, I don't know if I want to operate that way. So much work on, all this information that you need and the tablet and why not. I want to do my job briefings on paper because that's what we used to, and things of that nature. And we have to make sure that we show them why we're doing things we are doing now. We are not in the beginning of Fairway Electric organization. Now we have some proven concept. We have shown how we can be better every year. So we're not going to change. You have to be able to change. We're going to change when we see something that it needs change, but at the same time, we need to be able to be adaptable. All right? So if I have to tell you, how can I help you in the beginning stages of building something on the data and safety management system? Start on day one. That's the best advice I can give you. Don't wait. Don't allow guys to join the organization without knowing the expectation. New hire, and I know that the safety professional looking at this can relate tremendously on the challenge that it takes when operation wants that JL to hit the job site right now and give you 2 hours to train a guy or get them on board. You need to find a way to change that mindset and get your team to change that mindset. It's not going to work. The expectations need to be set on the first day. The training that you need from them need to be done on the first day. And I'm not talking about CPR, AD, those trainings that, might lag and whatnot. But when it comes to the critical task, rubber gloves, insulate, isolate, switching, when it comes to traffic, when it comes to everything that is critical, driving. Driving takes about 8 hours to do. We do Smith system. We do it the first day. Why? Because we try it in the different way, and you can never get the guys back. Once they're working, they're done. You lost them. So start on the first day. Those expectations that you have, start them there. All right. Training and retraining. So if you train the guys in the beginning and then you saw mistakes happen in the field, retrain them. Don't wait 2 months until something happened because you put them in a list of training. Because, the investigation found that he didn't cover properly, all right? Or didn't switch properly, or didn't use three-way communication properly. No. So obviously that buy-in has to come from the top, all right? And I am blessed in the sense that I can say that. I can make that decision. No one is going to make that decision for safety. And safety guys are empowered to make those calls. All right. So, as I mentioned, the other one is driving safety. That's one of the biggest hazards we have when it comes to our work and construction. So, if you can start with a scorecard system for driving behavior, you're winning already. All right. Again, that has changed tremendously. Between that and the driving training we do at different levels, had improved our driving records. Incredible. Top-down buy-in, obviously, that should be the first one because that's the first thing you need to incorporate all these things you need to do. The last one and most important is you need to show that you care. You don't do this just because, okay? You do this because you truly believe it makes a difference, and you have to sell that way. Not only to your supervisors and executives at the organization, but also to the guys taking the training, and the attitude have to be combined as part of the safety culture. I from the core guys, which is hundreds of them at Fairway, none of them are gonna complain about training, the amount of training we do, and having to do an onboarding, fully onboarding and training the first day. But I can tell you that expectation came really strong from our CEO, Shane Carey. So if not, then they won't care. Now they know that it's like, well, that's what we expect. That's what we're going to do. So that's good. So again, show that you care. Quick recap. You get what you put in. Safety members are often the smallest part of the organization. Don't don't think the safety guys are gonna solve these problems and gonna create all this system by themselves. All right, when they're just a small portion of an organization. So we have to build this together from the operations side, finance, our executive team. We have to do this together or it's not gonna work. I can promise you that. All right. Data mining must be a priority. Okay, so again, I mentioned that sometimes you go to your data portal and then you see that is some missing items, like, okay, the date of hire, because to be honest, when the guys are doing this safety incident investigation, they might not have time to go and look at the data of when those guys were hired, and maybe and some other minute questions that we ask that at the moment they don't look important, but they are. All right, the quality of that data is going to show the big picture eventually. All right, understanding of the data mining come from the top for us. We're blessed in that sense. Sometimes he asks me for more data than I have, and I have to struggle with that. But at the end of the day, I appreciate that. Okay, because that means that we as an organization care. All right, data should be transparent. It's not hiding data. Like from me as the corporate director to the CEO to the groundman, we need to look at each other and say, "Oh, Gilbert, you're the safety director. What happened with your driving record last week?" It was like, man, my bad. I was just rushing to New York and maybe I shouldn't drive that fast. You know, we should be able to be transparent, call each other out with respect. All right, and all right. So I have some, I always like to finish with some recommendation of books. I know I use, but these are the ones, Good to Great. It's great for data on the business side, but it can be relatable with safety. Start with Why. Most of folks working in the safety industry know it. It's a great book that start with the why something happened, and from there you can look at the data and quantify how can things improve. This one is interesting, and I put it here because I know what to do. Why don't I do it? It's a great book, and does it have to do with safety? Absolutely not. But the fact is that what I mentioned in the last few minutes talking about data is really straightforward. It's really fundamental. It's not that scientific. We know we have to do it, but we don't do it because we get so busy doing other things, because we don't put the resources, allocate the resources to make it effective. All right. My mentor used to tell me, just throw money at it, and the fact is, you have to put resources on those things that you value. And if he takes an admin, if he takes another project manager to just help with the information, then that's what it takes. But the alternative is that you're gonna fly blind. So I know what to do. Why don't I do it? And then the Functional Practices is a great book overall for safety. I am leaving my email here, and again, I welcome everyone to let me know. And if you see something and you're using something that is working really well for you, let me know. We're not talking AI on this one. I want to keep it to the basic. because, and the reason why I want to keep it basic is because I know a lot of great safety professionals in the industry, way better than I am, and they are struggling. We are, as an industry, struggling with this. In the past, I used to be part of the task team for the OSHA AT&D partnership. The task team one, what we did is look at the data of incidents. Is all in the lagging indicators, incidents and fatalities related to the OSHA AT&D partnership. And I was already passionate when it comes to data, but after looking at the incredible work that our team did over the years to use that information, it definitely is not other way around it. You have to do this. I appreciate the time, Brent, ECOS, Ryer, and everyone who is listening. That's all I have, and I hope you learned something today. Keep me posted. Thank you all.